Welcome everybody
to
to the
C-Ticket
Podcast.
What did you just say?
We'll get there, don't you worry. I gave James a little teaser for some of the notes that I took
It
right
felt like a
before
teaser.
and it was like the ultimate cliffhanger for him.
It felt like a teaser to me taking you to the HR room after this and being like, "Hey, I have to talk about my co-host's behavior." He threatened me with his Meatweasel.
Yeah, that's right, everybody. Stick around through this episode if you want to hear about the Meatweasel.
This is the C-Ticket Podcast, and when we're not making you sweat, I'm James Perlas. That's Nick D'Ambrosia. It may
If
not
we're
be-
not making you sweat, we're placing a bet. That's right. Odds on this episode devolving into a discussion about the male anatomy when we get to the Meatweasel are at minus 400.
Yeah, gambling and off-color jokes are our strong set, at least according to that AI episode. I was gonna say it's not King Kong's favorite podcast, but it sure is Kaiju. I wanted
It
to think
sure
of
is
something more.
Mothra's favorite.
Yeah, Mothra's our number one supporter. I love when she sends us in notes that say "Eee." They're all very kind. Nick, this is a kaiju-sized episode because I don't know. I really like kaiju.
Kaiju, I hardly know Jew.
Kaiju. God bless you.
Kaiju, isn't that annoying little kid from the TV show?
Why does everyone hate Caillou? Like, is it just like a meme at this point where people are like,
'Cause
I want Caillou?
he's a fucking piece of shit. That's why.
Nobody ever elaborates. I was once at a party where a man spent several minutes telling us all about how he wished nothing but ill upon Caillou, and all of us are like, okay, yeah, hey man, whatever you say, pal. Cool. I agree with you, I guess. I don't know this little bald baby.
He's annoying. He is disrespectful. He doesn't appreciate the things that he has.
Is he sort of a menace in the Dennis quality?
He's a menace in the like the very realistic way that a kid is a menace.
Gotcha.
Except he's painted as like a role model for kids.
Is this personally difficult for you as a substitute teacher where I assume children are also mean to you and call you like dusty old bones and stuff like that?
You know, I'm legally not permitted to speak on the matter as there is an active investigation pending. But
On who? Them or you?
I'm not legally permitted to speak on the matter as there is an active investigation.
All I can say is that kid deserved a textbook to the face. Nick, I saw a tweet today that was like somebody tweeting me standing with my 28-year-old friend, and it was like a teenage woman standing with Peter Capaldi from Doctor Who. That's like, God fucking damn it. I think all the time about, I think it was Olivia Rodrigo did like a face, and somebody's like, is anybody gonna tell her she's 21? And then the next tweet was like, dude, fucking TikTok has convinced like 20-year-olds that the human life expectancy is 26. Like that's where your life ends after that. Fucking Olivia Rodrigo's a child, and they're like, she's a little too old for that. Whatever.
Anyway, today we are talking about not a Disney attraction, James.
No, I don't know if you know this. If you're new to the C-Ticket, we're kind of bad boys.
Oh, yeah, they've called us the who have they called us? They've kind of called us
Yeah, what have they called us?
I'm trying to think of a good joke here. I'm so good at improv. They've called
Sort
us
of the Jesse James and Wild Bill Hickok of podcasting.
they've called us the O.J. Simpson and Robert Kardashian of theme park podcasting.
How about the Nick? How about this one? The Godzilla and King Kong of podcasting.
Well, I don't know. Are they friends?
You don't know. Hey, you guys don't know if Nick and I are friends. We could be doing this purely for the very little money that we make. Stop doing your Kevin Smith face. The very little money. Hey, shout out to the guy who commented on our YouTube video to talk about how much he dislikes Kevin Smith. Thank you. We appreciate your engagement. Feel free to weigh in on any more of them.
Yeah, they've called us the Jay and Silent Bob of theme park podcasting.
Hey, I'll be real with you. I barely remember Clerks. Do you?
Here's my hot take. Clerks is not good.
Now, did you appreciate making it, or?
I have some great stories about working down at the Quick Stop. Growing up in the Highlands and working there and shooting it in my nights off and going back and editing it in my community college editing room. I had a lot of fond memories making it. No, I think Kevin Smith has made much better movies. I just don't think Clerks is all that funny. Clerks has like funny things that are said in it, but I don't
Yes.
think it's like a fun movie to sit down and watch. Like,
Okay.
try not to suck any dick on the way through the parking lot is objectively one of the funnier things that's ever been said in a movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you say it to me all the time, even when I'm like, Nick, please, I'm trying to go to work right now. You'll call me and you'll scream that into the phone. So I get
Yeah,
it.
like objectively fantastic line, but like I think Chasing Amy is probably his best film.
I don't know if I've ever seen Chasing Amy.
Chasing Amy is very good, and a lot of it was shot in Red Bank, which I didn't realize. So I was watching that at a time, and I was like, "I that's where the Surf Taco is now." It's like that's the music store that I would buy things at all the time.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds great, Nick. It really sounds lovely. But you know what that movie doesn't have?
King Kong suplexing Godzilla.
Wrong, other way around. Godzilla suplexing King Kong.
Well, it
But
doesn't
yeah,
have that either.
it doesn't have a massive building-sized ape leaping around, avoiding beams of radioactivity from the coolest movie monster of all time. And frankly, I think that would have made Chasing Amy better. Chasing King Ghidorah, Chasing Mothra,
Chasing Mothra.
G
That's
and
good.
Silent Kong, Godzilla and Silent Kong.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Gojira and Silent Kong is
yeah.
is the new.
All those memes about Kong mewing through the new movie have been coming out, so Silent Kong is pretty appropriate. Yes, we've been dancing around the subject. We were talking today about maybe taking a look at Universal's. What is the actual name of the ride?
I was gonna let you say it and then correct you, so no, go ahead.
Kong Skull Island. All right, let me try
Skull
again.
Island, Reign of
No!
Kong,
Why would he be raining? He doesn't control the weather
or the flow of commerce.
or the flow of commerce. I'm not a Kong fascist. Yes, because so Nick, right before we dive into it, we've been saying kaiju a lot. Kaiju is what the Japanese word for like giant monster. What is your history with like kaiju movies, with monster movies like that? Anything? Are they big for you? Or are they not?
Big fat goose egg. I
Really?
had the '90s Matthew Broderick Godzilla Game Boy Color game, and
Uh
I
huh.
don't think I ever got far in it.
That's so I don't I that is simultaneously surprising and also not surprising to me. Um I don't know. I think of you as somebody who has like seen so many different types of cinema and movies and stuff, but also like yeah, I don't see this being a genre that's like super your thing. You know what I mean?
I certainly enjoy what I have seen, but like again, I always make this point when someone is like clutching their pearls when they find out there's a movie that I haven't seen. I'm like, I'm sorry, I wasn't the one running out to the store and buying VHSs when I was a child. If it was in
Yeah.
my house, I watched it. And I wasn't going out of my way to watch things that looked scary. And I wasn't going out of
Right,
my
there
way
was
to watch
also
things
that.
that looked old, you know? Like
Um
there wasn't
yeah,
much kaiju content until like 2005's Kong was the first thing I was kind of culturally aware of.
kaiju content Jew? Yeah,
And
you
I
get
don't
where we're
even
going.
know, like, I don't think was King Kong considered kaiju until very
Well, he would.
recently?
It was an American movie. I think it would. It's one of those things that would fit into the definition of it, but like it wasn't necessarily from that genre,
Kind of
right?
like how The Last Airbender isn't technically anime, but it could be.
Yeah, like if you look at movies like God, any of those old movies. Now I forget what they're called, but like the one where the giant claymation dinosaurs attack Rome, stuff like that. I do wonder if those would fit into the definition of a kaiju
Like
movie,
the
or if it
Ray
must.
Harryhausen,
Yes,
stop motion, yeah.
or if it must specifically be from Japan, sort of a champagne from the region of France. Anything else is just sparkling wine or whatever the fuck.
Spark Monster.
Yeah. Um, I I grew up. I think I have seen almost every single Godzilla movie of all time. I'm sure there are some like Japanese deep cuts I haven't. Which actually, weirdly enough, I was watching clips of Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I think is my favorite of the new like American Godzilla movies, and I got weirdly emotional. Probably thinking about because all of those movies were things I watched because of my dad. But no, I grew up watching all of the like the rubber suit Godzilla movies into when they got a little bit more serious. Then they got silly again. Then there was if you were a Godzilla fan around when we were growing up, there was a lot of like this is the last Godzilla movie ever. And then about 2 months later, they'd be like, never mind. Because I think a lot of times it was the last like Toho produced one, but then they would give somebody else the rights. Um, and just to answer, because I know some people get very caught up here between should Godzilla be scary and a metaphor for nuclear war, or should he be a giant lizard that fights other giant monsters? I think there is more than enough room for both. I
Yes.
love that this year we got hold on, Godzilla -1, which was fucking scary and emotional. And we also got Godzilla and Kong doing kung fu against an evil monkey with a whip. Katie really wants to say something.
I also think that Godzilla.
Come into the frame.
I forgot it's a visual media now. I also think that Godzilla as a metaphor for like nuclear war is just not going to have the same weight that it had at the time, right?
No, especially not for Americans.
It's like Darth Vader versus Kylo Ren, right?
Yeah.
That's all.
I like when he drop kicks people.
I do too.
Yay. So yes, thankfully by proxy, through my dad to me to Katie. Now Katie is also a giant monster fan, which is always great. Go ahead.
Well, that's why she married you.
I'm not that tall, actually. I'm a medium-sized monster.
You're a medium-sized.
I'm a medium. I'm sort
medium-sized monster in the streets, giant monster in the sheets. That's what they said on your college transcript.
Honey, I'm getting that on a shirt. Nick just says medium-sized monster in the streets, giant monster in the sheets.
That's actually really good.
Nick, we should get shirts like that. We should the C Tickets official monster in the sheets shirt. We need new Nick, we need new shirts anyway, man.
Yeah, man, we gotta get another revenue stream popping up here. I'm going broke trying to buy chicken wings.
Same, King. Today, I almost got coffee, and then I was like, you know what? Probably shouldn't. And then I kept driving. It made me sad. Okay, so that was a long-winded way of saying I'm a big monster movie fan. What about Kong specifically, Nick? Were you a Kong fan at all?
Again, like my cultural awareness of Kong was the existence of the 2005 movie. I knew it was around because it was all over cereal boxes and TV commercials.
Have you watched it again recently?
I've never watched it.
That one actually does surprise me, just because I thought about like when we were growing up. It is. I would recommend checking it out. It is a weird movie that does a lot right. It's also a little bit too long, but there are parts of it that are genuinely scary.
Peter Jackson, the king of making things too long for me to want to watch them.
There is a part where they fall into a crevice full of like Skull Island bugs that is still one of the scarier things I remember from growing up. But I want to make a side note. There was a Peter Jackson's King Kong game, and it was fucking awesome.
I've heard about the game.
You played half the time as Kong, which it was like a brawler game where you could pick up dinosaurs and fucking smash them into each other. And then the other half of the game, you played as people in like an FPS against giant fucking velociraptors. It was a good game. I would play it again right now. If we can get a hold of it, we should play it. That can be one of our live streams on the Patreon.
Yeah, so I've seen that. Or no, I haven't seen that. I was aware of that. The next, I think, piece of Kong media that even came out was Kong Skull Island. Mm-hmm. Which I didn't see because again I had no interest in it.
It was
but
good.
I have since seen it once I realized that it was connecting to the Godzilla versus Kong during COVID when I was stuck at home with nothing else to do. I watched everything in that series that had been released thus far. And I could not tell you what happens in each of the Godzilla movies. I can't tell them apart other than that one has Bryan Cranston in it for 20 minutes.
The first one.
Yeah. And then
that
Millie Bobby Brown's in one of them.
That is my favorite one, I think. I also think I'll get out of the kaiju nerd speak after this. I think they blew their kaiju load too early by making the first bad guy Godzilla fought after that first movie, King Ghidorah, who is arguably the best Godzilla villain and the best looking Godzilla villain. And now like everything else is like, okay, now he's fighting a monkey. Right? He was fighting a 3-headed space dragon that controlled the weather. I don't know. Now he's fighting a monkey with an axe. It does feel a little bit of a downgrade for the guy. I do love that movie, and I thought Skull Island was cool.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it had that cool like 70s aesthetic to it.
Yeah,
that felt awesome. Yeah. Also, great cast with what's his name? Not his fucking Loki. Tom Hiddleston. Samuel L. Jackson in that. Am I making that up?
Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson's the one that kind of loses his mind, right?
I think so.
John C. Reilly.
Yeah, that movie's great. Check out Kong Skull Island. Nothing to do with this ride, but this ride is based on the 05. But the only other Kong content I was aware of is the tram ride at Universal Studios Hollywood, and the ride that was previously at Universal Studios Florida, the Kong-frontation ride. That was all I knew of King Kong.
Wait, that's what it was called?
It was called Kong-frontation.
The fact that you haven't been saying Kong tent, but they got away with Kong-frontation is annoying. Okay. I did not. Hold on. I'm sorry.
And before I saw any Kong movie ever, I saw King Kong the musical on Broadway.
I'm sad I missed that. Not because I thought it was going to be good, but because I wanted to see the big puppet.
It was an awesome experience. I could not tell you a single song from it, but the show was wildly impressive to watch. The puppet was incredible. And where our seats were, the way they did the puppet is they had a guy in a booth doing the voice and some of the mechanical, I think facial puppeteering, if I'm not mistaken, from a
Okay.
booth in the balcony, and we were seated right next to it. So we would like hear him through like a very, very muffled wall go, oh, oh, ah, huh, huh. And then
That's
it would happen on stage after like a very, very small delay. So it was very funny to kind of
when
hear
you
that.
said doing the voice, I was like, wait, like Kong speaks? I for some reason, when you said none of the music, have you ever seen The Simpsons where Troy McClure is in Planet of the Apes, the musical?
I think I've seen a clip of it.
You finally made a monkey out of me. Yeah, that's all I could think about. That sounds really cool. I mean, I'm glad you got to see it.
Well, the team that worked on the puppet for that
Mhm.
comes up later as they worked on the animatronic for Skull Island Reign of Kong.
So, can you just clarify something for me really quick? So, this ride has nothing to do with the legendary movie Skull Island?
Nope, it's only the 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong.
But I also, and we'll get to it in a minute. I feel like the size of him in this ride correlates a lot more to the newer movies. Huh.
It's the '05.
That's
At
so
least
funny.
every research that I found was that's not a
Well,
sentence.
to be fair,
Everything that I found in my research indicates that it was based off of the '05 only and released 3 years before the 2018 Kong.
that's
Or
I
was in
think why it
development.
confuses me, because like the Peter Jackson Kong, and once again a movie I enjoy, had become pretty much culturally irrelevant by the time
Yeah,
Jesus came out.
that's why I think I don't want to bury the lead with my opinion here. I think this ride blows. Uh
I didn't know if we were going to disagree on this because it felt like a thing we would. There were specifically two aspects of this ride I really like, and then everything else I'm like, yeah, this is
Same.
nothing.
Same.
But that's so funny, and you know what? They play around so much with Kong's size in these new movies. In the Peter Jackson one, he's like the size of a small building, like a house. Then in the first Skull Island one, he's size of a small building. Then he's fighting Godzilla, and he's like almost the size of a skyscraper. And then I think he got even bigger in Godzilla X Kong. Which, by the way, Nick, I just want to point something out. You do learn in Godzilla X Kong when you see other Kongs that he is the Brock Lesnar of Kongs. Like they do not all look like him. The other ones look like regular monkeys.
He's
He looks.
currently suspended for sexual harassment.
Oh my God! Wait, really?
Oh wait, no, you didn't. Oh my god, I don't want to get it too into the weeds on this. So
No, we won't.
Brock is not okay. Let me make this clear. Brock is not directly named in any legal claims or anything, but it does go explicitly out of its way to mention a former UFC fighter that the woman who is suing former WWE chairman and founder Vince McMahon um, claims that this woman was promised to a former UFC champion as a reward.
Oh
Uh,
my God!
yeah, and then
That's
it didn't happen. Like
disgusting.
that didn't happen, but it was like a
Sure, but
discussion.
that's dude. That's
Yeah, so
disgusting.
Brock has been off TV and removed from any future WWE plans, is not playable in the latest WWE game,
Hey,
and has not been mentioned recently.
can we talk now? Nick and I are vocally and always constantly proponents of sex perverts getting exactly what they deserve. So Vince McMahon getting caught and everything like this has been great. I do think that the response that the game had of simply blurring him out of cutscenes
It
is
is
one of the
really
wild.
funny.
It's one of the wildest choices because it accomplishes nothing.
Well, let's be clear. This game was like days away from release when all this shit went down. And I can just imagine the devs over at 2K being like, God fucking damn it. What did this motherfucker do now? And like having to last minute scrub him from existence. But the kicker is like, there's still like other scenes where they don't blur him. It's like only
Really?
scenes where it's like, yeah, it's like him, like where he's like the focus of the shot, like when he's standing with Charlotte Flair, I think, and stuff like that. But like there's
Can
other
you
shots
still
where he's just unedited.
can you still play as him?
No, so Brock appears in the game as an opponent in the WrestleMania Showcase mode. Vince,
Okay.
I think, appears in some of those cutscenes, but they are not playable.
So I can't play as Vince the pervert McMahon.
No, but you can make a nice create a wrestler, I'm sure, with all of his
Oh,
moves.
oh, good. Yeah, I can call him pervert CEO, and his finishing move can be getting publicly fired. Okay, great, love it. Just wanted to cover all that really quick. Um, so Nick, now that
So,
we've
James,
now that we've talked, hey, I want to clarify. Kong is not under any sexual harassment allegations. I just meant you see the other Kongs and you realize that perhaps it has been his life on Skull Island, but King Kong has been eating nothing but whey protein and bench pressing fucking tectonic plates. Because even the villain of this movie is like, looks like a puny fucking whelp compared to jacked whey protein Kong. Um, so, okay, let's talk about this ride. Nick, it's located right around Jurassic Park, right? Which is like a pretty good fit.
Okay, so again, okay, I said this ride blows. There are elements of it that are really impressive that make it worth visiting, and I would still go out of my way to experience on a trip if it was a reasonable wait.
Yeah, I've
That
been on
being
it. I don't
said,
avoid it.
it starts off making me angry because I think this might be the only major theme park attraction that exists in a liminal space between lands. It is a homeless attraction. It is
What do you
neither
mean?
in Jurassic Park nor Toon Lagoon. It is simply listed as between Toon Lagoon and Jurassic Park.
Which is interesting to me because it feels like you could simply put it in Jurassic Park. Like the theming is exactly the same. And I
Yeah,
will
I
say,
think it might be a licensing thing with the Jurassic Park franchise where it's like, this is
sure.
not part of our franchise. We can't represent it here.
I also don't think it like visually sticks out to me. Like it blends enough into the Jurassic Park theming for my liking. How do you
Yeah, I
feel about
just
that?
think it's like, it feels like such a I'm speaking to like kind of the mid 2010s Universal attitude that was like, yeah, a lot of screen rides. They were receiving criticism for
Ugh,
that.
yeah.
Um, but it kind of
As they
speaks to
should.
that attitude of the kind of kill your darlings. They don't have that reverence for their history and the past and kind of the theming that a Disney did necessarily around
Yeah,
that time. I think the tables are kind of turned at this point, and Universal is the one absolutely killing the game with everything
I
they're
do.
building. But I think it kind of speaks to an attitude of, fuck it, who cares? No one's gonna question it. It's a cool new ride. Just put it wherever.
Yeah, I mean, I get where else could you have put Kong beyond besides maybe that like weird fantasy adventure opening area.
Yeah, it might have been in like content or the Lost Continent.
Okay, actually, that makes a lot more. Yeah, that's kind of I think what I was trying to get at. But also, I guess visually it might stick out because Lost Content is a little more like sort of when I think of Lost Content, I think of like the theming of the movie Atlantis and stuff like
Yes.
that. So it's a little.
Yes.
It does. You're right. It doesn't have a proper home. I don't think it's too visually distinct from
It's not
Jurassic
like
Park.
visually disruptive or at all.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the more visually stunning exteriors I think of any attraction at both at Universal or Disney.
Hmm.
But I think that it just rubs me the wrong way that it's just like there. Like it doesn't have it's like there's no theme or story surrounding it. It just exists there.
The theme is Big Monkey. Okay, the theme is Big Monkey. That's all you need. I loved those memes when Godzilla versus Kong came out, and it'd be like Godzilla, size, strength, radioactive, can't swim. What does Kong have? Big Monkey. Can't really argue with that, can you? You saw Godzilla versus Kong, right?
I think.
Okay. No,
Again,
that was
nothing really sticks out to me.
I think that's so funny. I think these movies occupy the same space in my head as pro wrestling. I'm like, yeah, this is great. I love whatever's going on right here. I don't need to think too hard about it. You know. But okay. Then we won't get too far into that. So I wanted to start out with the best part of this ride, in my opinion. I think the queue to this ride is so fucking cool.
Yeah, I have some interesting tidbits about the queue.
Have we
Uh
talked about this queue before?
no, I don't think we have.
I feel like
I
we
think it's got an awesome
have.
exterior. So you enter the queue. Well, first off, there's a big old rock that has Skull Island Reign of Kong carved into it, and it's dope. Then you enter the queue under a giant sculpture of King Kong, and he's got big sharp fangs.
Yeah, he looks tough.
And the
He doesn't
queue
look like
has
a
like
slouch.
this like interesting fauna and mist and spooky fencing and shit. And then you
So
get into a part where there's radio stuff playing, and it kind of feels to me like adult Jungle Cruise.
yes, it feels like the to me it feels like if you were playing sort of one of those horror games like Amnesia or Last of Us or sorry, Outlast, the main menu screen is typically something like there's a radio playing in the background and you can hit select to continue. That's what it kind of feels like to me.
Yeah, so that's the exterior portion of the queue when you see like this temple up ahead that you're
It's
moving
awesome.
toward. And then you pull into or you walk into these kind of twisting caverns.
Twisted.
Um And the inside of this is like incredibly well themed. It's very spooky. There used to be live actors there.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they are not. I wanted to say really quick. This is the only queue I can think of that is not a horror nights queue that is genuinely creepy. Can you think of any others?
Revenge of the Mummy can be.
A little, yeah, a little bit when you get far. But this one is like dark, and it's not like kooky dark. Like there's just droning in the background. There's not fun music. I could see being a kid and not wanting to get on this ride.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an adult and I didn't want to get on this ride because of the queue.
It made me want to get on it so bad. I love that shit.
Well, I was afraid to go through the queue because I had
Yes.
heard there are live actors. Now, apparently they have not been there in about 6 years, but um
So what did the live actors do? They hide in these like recesses in the wall,
they
right?
would hide in their boo holes and jump out and scare you.
I don't like that phrase, and I don't ever want to hear you use it
It's
again.
the industry term.
I don't think you're wrong. Why not hidey hole or scary hole or something like or harassment hole? Why would you pick boo hole?
Hey, listen, punk, I need you to get in the boo hole, all right? Hey,
Yeah.
gotta do the job, all right? What's best
don't
for
make me
business?
get Lesnar. All right, don't make me get Lesnar.
Hey, I can get Brock. Brock's going over. Yeah, it's not gonna work for me, brother. HH.
Man, I hope something bad happens to Vince McMahon soon. Um, so the hidey holes are yeah, they're these recesses. So let's talk about this. Do they have pictures of the Kong Skull Island Reign of Kong actors?
I was trying to find them, and truthfully, it was very difficult to find like pictures and video. Like I would look up live actors, so I did do a Google search to see if they were still there, and I found a message board. I'm just gonna read some comments here. Uh, Eek, still got 2 months to build up the courage. At least I know where they're coming from. Thanks so much. Probably a daft question, but what do they do and how do they interact with you? Oh my days, what do they do? I'm a right wuss, and we are doing Halloween Horror Nights. And it was then I realized I'm on thedib.co.uk message board. I was like, these people all talk real fucking weird. And then I was like, oh my days, what do they do? I'm a right wuss, and we're doing Halloween Horror Nights.
Maybe we didn't. I keep feeling like we've talked about this ride before, and only because I have a Photoshop of me. No, I know why we made it. We made it when we did our awesome interview with oh my god, what was his name? You guys
With
were beard
Vincent.
twins. With
Vincent
Vincent Vision.
Vision.
Yeah. There's a picture of me in a black fur coat standing on the Kong Skull Island like podium. Maybe I'll reshare that one this week. I did find a picture of the scare actors. So I just want to address one thing. All of the scare actors in Kong, they all look like spooky tribe people. There's no way around it. In this iteration of Kong, the Islanders are sort of we've talked about it in the past, spooky headhunter tropes. This one leans a lot more into actual horror movie, not like haha wacky natives type of thing.
And they are the good guys. So we at least give them that credit.
In a way, yeah, I would argue they are neutral, about as neutral. Well, they do want us to not steal Kong. They do try to sacrifice Fay Ray, or whatever her name is in the actual movie, to Kong. So that part's not great. They do jump on a boat and kidnap her. But on the other hand, it is very much, why are you going to their island to steal their giant monkey?
Yeah.
Either way, so I did find a picture of one of the skull actors. They are dressed up in a very stereotypical sort of headhunter vibe. There was that spooky. The animatronic is actually still pretty creepy. The one of the old woman, the shaman
The
woman.
shamaness, yeah.
Yeah, they are dressed that way. That is a thing. I guess it fits the theme, as questionable as it might be. But yeah, Nick, they used to jump out of holes at you, which is pretty fucking scary if you ask me.
Yeah, it would stress me out greatly, the thought of that happening in this queue, and I'm glad they don't do it anymore. The thought of
Wouldn't it?
live actors in a queue is awesome, but
Yeah.
not if they're scaring you. Like,
Wouldn't
that seems like not what I'm signing up for.
Wouldn't it theoretically accomplish the role though of like we are kind of fulfilling the role of the dumb white explorers being like, let me on this island, and if they scare you and get off the queue, they kind of did their job, right? Kind
That's
of kept
probably
you.
the most immersive experience you can have. Galaxy's Edge, eat your heart out.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you get on this queue. It's in these dark, spooky caves. There's no fun music. There's like occasionally pieces of exploratory equipment, right? Like from this expedition.
Yeah, it's whatever the expedition group that is there looking to steal their big monkey.
That's really
And then
their
you come
fucking
upon
plan.
an animatronic of a shaman woman, the shamaness, who
Mhm.
is presumably warning you not to enter further.
Liberal bullshit. Disregard that.
Yeah, they don't want you to steal their giant monkey because woke. Um,
Yeah, you
so,
can't go to islands and steal their things anymore because of woke.
so you might wind up in this room with this shaman for like 20 minutes, and it's speaking a language that you don't understand. So you
It
do
does
just hear
look
kind of,
really good.
it's a really dope looking animatronic that you can get really close to.
Yeah.
That's muttering kind of just uh, foreign
I don't. Is
incantations
she
and stuff.
speaking in language or?
I believe it's whatever their native language is.
Oh no, I meant like a real language, or are they
I'm
just
not
making it
sure.
up? I'm gonna Google it. Yeah,
That's why I'm taking great care not to call it gibberish or mumbo jumbo.
I'm just gonna
Um,
hold on.
yeah.
Yeah, keep
So,
going.
but that is not the only animatronic because you can move into the next room
Oh,
or
here we
one of the
go.
next rooms, and at which point you will come face to face with the Meatweasel.
Yeah, yeah. So, is it the giant worm thing?
It is the giant worm thing, the
Okay.
Shai-Hulud of Skull Island, the dune sandworm essentially
The
that is
shy.
trapped in a case.
Okay.
Um, this is known as the Meatweasel, and I came across this when I was looking up some stats for the animatronic, and I came across the portfolio of an artist named Steven Schultz, who is a 3D
Okay.
artist slash designer,
All
and
right.
he did the CG design and development with Creature Technology Company of the 6-meter tall King Kong animatronic, as well as the Meatweasel worm creature in the attractions queue.
Why did they? Why did they give him that name?
I mean, you look at that thing. If you say, "Oh, this is the Meatweasel," you look at it and you go, "Yeah, that's a Meatweasel."
Okay, yeah, guys, if you're there, I do recommend looking it up. I'm seeing in the queue.
Yeah,
I want to
Google
see.
Meatweasel, everyone.
Yeah, yeah. If you're there, go into your Google, turn off say search, and look up Kong Meat Weasel. Look up Meat Weasel in the dark. All right, I'm gonna actually look at Meat Weasel, see what comes up. Hold on. So that animatronic is pretty good, actually, right?
It's really cool. And I think that simpler animatronics like this tend to be more impressive because they're not trying to replicate vast arrays of motion. All this thing
Yes.
really does is lift up its head, move it around, and extend its like inner mouth. It has like two mouths.
Yeah, it has like a beak, a sort of like squid-like mouth inside, right?
Yes. And I think that nature of it, coupled with the fact that it's like it suggests something we recognize in reality, but doesn't have to perfectly match something we know from reality, that creates that slight uncanny valley where it looks really good.
So what you mean is the Carnicticus sordicus, the vile meat weasel, is a bloodworm-like parasite that lives in the abyssal chasms of Skull Island. Undisputedly, undisputedly the most repulsive denizen of the hellish rents of Skull Island, writhing serpentine-shaped vermicular carnivores of the tepid sludge that suffocates the depths of the chasms.
Yeah, so that's the meat weasel.
So, so that's the meat weasel. Let's roll. They have a role in the film. Do you want to hear a little trivia about them?
Always. Hit me with those sweet, sweet meat weasel facts.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Katie's asking me meat weasel questions. Yes, honey. No, no, no. Listen, don't worry. Listen up. Like most creatures of the pit, it is unlikely that they survived the island's destruction given the sheer dangers of the pit and the difficulties of logistics of trying to garner specimens. In contrast to the majority of wildlife where sufficient tranquilizers would have been enough to immobilize them for study. It was nicknamed the pit slug by the producers in King Kong Extras. Also, their first known victim was Lumpy.
Not Lumpy.
Lumpy was actually a great character, and I remember him getting killed by this in that scene that I did not like as a child. You know,
Lumpy's meat weasel.
Lumpy, honey. Yeah, do you like Lumpy's meat weasel more? Katie seems flabbergasted. We're not going to talk about Lumpy's meat weasel anymore. Also, dude, Nick, I'm going to tell you, all of the images of the meat weasel are it violently killing Lumpy, and it's genuinely disturbing. Like, I don't know why these are on here.
Oh man. Well, so that's the cue, and then you get to the ride. Now, this ride, Skull Island Reign of Kong, is at the Islands of Adventure Park at
World of
Universal
Meat
Studios
Weasel.
Florida.
Meat Weasel of Kong.
Skull
Reign
Island
of,
Reign of Meat Weasel.
Reign of Lumpy's Meat Lumpy
Lumpy
Island
Island Reign of
Reign
Meat
of Meat
Weasel.
Weasel. Yeah, that's good. Good. Hey, episode name is down. Let's just write that down. Lumpy Island Reign of Meat Weasel.
So this ride opened July 13th, 2016.
Mhm.
Um, so about 11 years after the movie was relevant, and 3 years before Kong would be relevant again. Um, but nonetheless, this opened. It's a trackless dark ride, so it is
That's
thrilling.
fine.
It is considered on the Universal website. It is listed as thrill, but
Mhm.
it doesn't move quickly. It's just
No, you're
kind
on
of
like a
still.
truck. Yeah.
Yeah, you enter essentially a safari truck as it listed on Wikipedia, but I just kind of listed it as an expedition truck because you know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah, it's the thing that I would take through what do you call it? Kilimanjaro safaris.
Yeah, and it's a trackless ride, so it moves similar to the way that, Ratatouille or Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway
Or a
would.
Meatweasel pushing through the primordial
Um,
sludge.
these things seat 66 people, so they're pretty massive trucks, massive
They
ride
are
vehicles.
bigger than I always think they're gonna
There's
be. Yep.
11 rows of 6, and the fun little detail here that I do appreciate about this ride, and this is kind of where the things I appreciate stop for the next 4 minutes of ride time. There are Each truck has an animatronic driver that is, like, dressed like a Universal team member, but all of them are unique. So, there's, like, 5 different unique drivers you could get that have their own personalities and
I did
dialogue.
not know that. I think I've always gotten the sassy Southern woman.
Do you mean Becky Callahan, the cowgirl that anticipates the dangers of Skull Island?
Yeah, yeah. No, I do, Nick. Who else is there?
Well, of course, there's Will Denham, the nephew of filmmaker Carl Denham, who you might know as Jack Black in the '05 Peter Jackson movie.
Oh my God, he's his nephew.
Yeah, Jack
Why
Black's
would he allow?
nephew.
Why would he allow his? He was a fucking fat cat TV producer. Why would he allow his nephew to do this?
Hey, you don't mess with Will Denham.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. What
You
about
know who you
Lumpy?
really
What
don't
about
mess with?
Lumpy
You know who you
Meatweasel?
really don't mess with?
Mm-hmm.
Jinx Costanza, the former criminal who is
Nah,
slightly worried about the mysteries behind Skull Island.
that's
He's
that's
only
not his name.
slightly worried.
That's hey, man. That's not his name. Do you want to give it another pass?
It's Jinx Costanza. Now, I think there are certain names that pop culture have rendered unusable simply because, like,
Costanza.
it will immediately draw comparisons to other characters. I
Mm-hmm.
think Costanza is a name that you just cannot use if you are trying to make anything that isn't a George Costanza reference.
Yeah, I think it's. They should have just made it George Costanza and let Jason Alexander voice it. Like I would ride this ride so many times if I could get George is getting angry when Kong shows up. Like I would have killed for that.
You get in the truck and they just go, the gorilla ripped the dinosaur in half.
Yeah,
He
he
ripped
gets
the
it.
dinosaur in half.
What are you telling me? He ripped the dinosaur in half, George. In half, Jerry. He ripped it in half.
He ripped it in half. And then Kramer walks in and goes, they're ripping dinosaurs in half now?
Oh my! Hey, my buddy Bob Sacramento, he got ripped in half by a meat weasel. It'll be.
No, the subplot of the episode is Kramer is raising meat weasels in his apartment.
And they're eating the neighbors' cats and shit. And like Kramer insists that they're really nice.
Jerry, I thought they were just going to be little guys, but they're getting so big, these meat weasels. They ate Lumpy.
They hate Lumpy.
Who's
I want to
Kramer?
write this
Who is
down.
Lumpy?
You know, Lumpy from downstairs. He sold pigeons. It's and then Elaine comes in. And is
Elaine
like,
starts dating the meat weasel, and no one is questioning it.
No, Elaine starts dating fucking what's the first guy? What was the guy's name? The producer's nephew.
Will Denham.
Yeah, and she keeps trying to get into one of Will Denham's movies, but he always makes her an extra. She's like, I don't have an extra face, do I, Jerry? Well, you're not
Hold
star
on,
quality,
hold
Elaine.
on. No. The nephew is the filmmaker is Carl Denham. Will Denham is the nephew who drives a truck.
Sorry, yeah. She keeps trying to get into his uncle's films, and he only makes her an extra. And then when she finally gets in it, she's blocked by Kong. What do you mean? I'm not... Elaine, you don't want to be the star. The star gets kidnapped by Kong. What, you don't think I'm good enough to be kidnapped by Kong, Jerry?
Well, watch me. I'm gonna go get kidnapped by Kong.
We have what do you call it? We have quite the show here, actually.
Well, we also have, thankfully, this team has some backup because there's Kalana, an ambassador between the Eighth Wonder Expedition Company and the Skull Island natives. I don't know if she's like a Skull Island expat who's coming back.
No,
to,
it's definitely
rep
not
her
that because they were not generous about the Skull Island people in these movies.
Yeah.
Okay, in Godzilla versus Kong and in this new one, they still do the like ooh, mystic tribe stereotype, but they're like, normal human beings who just live in a tribal setting. In the original Skull Island movies, they were basically like ghoul people.
But that's not all, James, because we also have Charles Doc Jordan, a paleontologist who's taking time off to explore the world.
I don't give a shit about him. Let's move on.
Yeah, well, those are the 5.
Also, good luck, man. Every dinosaur on this planet, every dinosaur on this island seems consciously evil. It does not seem like a normal dinosaur. It seems like it wants to hurt you specifically.
So I do love this detail. I think it's nice and it's fun that they went the extra mile of like, oh, let's pretend there's a driver here and give them unique personalities.
It is
But you know
cute.
what also would have given unique personalities?
A driver.
Just a person. Just a
Yeah.
person
Just,
in the
and that would,
truck.
I bet this would be a fun one to act with too. Like I feel like it would be
Yeah.
a fun little act to do. I would like it.
Yeah, so I mean, that's something that Universal is no stranger to. The Jaws ride did this. It's like, and then they hired actors for the queue. So if you're hiring actors anyway, just I don't know. Again, I
You could
like
have been
the
both.
detail, but it could have been better.
You could be a Q actor half the day, then be a truck driver the rest of the day.
There you
I
go.
had a friend who was becoming a teacher and then at night worked at a liquor store, and his joke was always like, I'm saving lives, or I'm making dreams during the day, I'm ruining lives at night." So it'd be that kind of thing.
That's awesome. But yeah, so then the ride starts, and depending on weather, you either go outside through like a little winding outdoor path with fire and mist and big rock
Ooh.
work, and through this massive set of carved temple doors
Yeah,
that look
those are in
really
the movie.
majestic and impressive, and they open and then they close behind you and seal you in. Or if it's raining, you make a right turn and the ride starts.
Yeah, it's a lot less interesting.
Hey, but you know what? Credit to this, because unlike I would say 80% of the other rides at Islands of Adventure, this one can still function if it's raining.
Yeah, which is nice because I remember going on it the second time and being like, thought there was a lot more. Like I feel like I remember there being a lot more, and then I realized it's because it was raining.
Yeah, and let me be clear, nothing really happens outside other than the
Yeah, it just
doors,
looks
but it is
nice.
a significant chunk of the ride time.
And they are in the movie. They are in Nick, I think you should check out the Peter Jackson one. I'm not joking. Maybe skip the Meatweasel scene. I don't think you will like it. But the
I
rest of the
mean,
movie's
I
good.
gotta give it up for my homeboy, the Meatweasel.
And Lumpy and his Meatweasels. We're naming this. I'm telling you right now. We're naming this episode "Reign of Lumpy Meatweasel" or something like
You're
that.
gonna be so disappointed, viewer, when you glance down at your phone to realize that is not the title of this episode.
Lumpy Island, Reign of Meatweasel.
So the ride begins,
King
and
Kong.
some stuff happens, and then 5 minutes later, there's a big Kong robot.
Yeah, listen. The rest of it is screens. It's not very good. It's your truck like leans around and there's dinosaurs chasing you. And the visuals are fine, but it's screens. They're not very exciting, and you're in a slow moving trackless vehicle. That's
Let
it.
me put it this way: I was watching a ride through of this.
And it felt like being on the ride.
No, I was watching a ride through. I glanced down to check my phone, and then I looked up, and it was over. Because I could not care less about what was happening on the screens until the big monkey showed up.
Okay. Then the rest of the ride is, have you been on the Transformers ride? Have you been on that one Harry Potter ride? This is like a not as good version of those. That's it.
Yeah, because you're not moving. It's like the Fast and Furious ride is a worse offender, I think, because the title is Fast and Furious, and
And
you
it's neither
move
one of those.
slow and boring.
Yeah.
But this is like also just as slow. At least at the end of this, there are, to be fair, there are some designed sets in this with a couple animatronics, and you meet a really, really impressive big monkey at the end.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that part because that's the part that's worth it.
Well, I do want to bring up a couple things. Some of the creatures that you meet.
There are the
I also should
V-Rexes.
point out this ride was in 3D until about 2.5 weeks ago, and then they removed the 3D with no
I'm sorry,
indication that it'll come back.
weeks ago?
Yeah, they took away the 3D with no indication that it'll ever come back. So they made an already kind of middling part of the ride even less impressive.
You know what, Nick? Honestly, I don't even fucking remember it being in 3D, so I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, so you do go through a jungle. You do meet a character called Kate, who is kind of like the Fey Ray of this ride.
Yes. Nobody's
And you come face to face with such terrifying creatures as the Terapus Mordax, the Carnictus, the
Nick,
Decarnosimex.
the Carnictus is the Meatweasel.
Oh, okay. So maybe they all have cooler names, but you can also meet the Diplector, the Venatosaurus, and the Vestatosaurus Rex, aka the
The
V
V-Rex.
Rex.
Yeah, because they had to legally make them distinct from T-Rexes. But do you like how every animal on this island looks hateful? None of them look like the T-Rexes look evil. None of them just look like regular animals. You know
Hey,
how in Jurassic World, they like kind of made an effort to make the Indominus Rex look a little fucking freaky?
yeah.
All of the animals on Skull Island look like that. There's not a single normal animal on Skull Island.
Yeah, so you go through, you meet some of those, people get murdered, there's like interactions like with Kong and the ride vehicle, like you might shake a little bit.
Do you know Escape from Gringotts? It's like that, but not as good.
Yeah, because that's at least a roller coaster,
Yeah, and
technically.
like, but you know the
That
thing
ride has going for it that it is technically a roller coaster.
you know the thing I'm talking about, where you pull into a room and you kind of pivot around as a big screen, and then Harry Potter and his friends are like, "Uh-oh, Dementors! We'll hold them off." Ching, 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 as and then your car pulls back. It's just that a bunch of times, but like now there's bats that look like penises or whatever.
I believe you're referring to the Terrapus Mordax.
Yeah, man, that's exactly what Terrapus mordiax is exactly what I was talking about. Sometimes there's worms that look like penises.
Well, those are the Meatweasels, of course.
Sometimes there's V-Rexes who do look vaguely. What's the word
The
for
the
oh,
Vagina
yonic?
Rexes.
Yeah, yonic, not phallic. Yonic, I think, is the right word. Vagina Rexes, yes. It's actually short for vulva Rex, Nick. So,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I should have used the medical term.
yes.
How crass of me.
So yeah, I don't know. A bunch of mean animals show up. Skip, 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 skip. Get to the good part.
Right. So then you meet a 6 meter tall, 18-foot wide, which I think that might just be a cross up of details because that's the same length essentially. 18 feet is about
he's
6 meters.
he's a perfect square. Kong
I
is
don't
the
know.
perfect.
You meet
It's
a big
cube
fucking
Kong.
monkey from the chest up.
Yeah, and it is legitimately cool. Your car, and he is not. Let's clarify this again. He is not a screen. He is a giant fucking animatronic monkey. He looks
Yeah.
great.
It is wildly impressive. It is worth riding the ride just for this thing. Like
100%.
this like again, I think the ride itself is middling and like if there was other things to do, I wouldn't prioritize this ride, but you should see this thing at least once in your life.
Yeah, I agree. It is very much. This ride is a very big up and down. It's like the queue is great. Ride's okay. All right, it's fine. Kong is great. Okay, the rest of the ride's
If
fine.
the ride could just be I walk through the queue like at my own leisure. I
See
can hang
Kong.
out in the queue as long as I like, listen to the robot, get in the ride vehicle, meet my friend Jinx Costanza, um, go through the big temple gates and meet King Kong, and it's a minute long,
Yeah.
I'd be happy. I think the ride would be better if you cut everything out except for the monkey. If the ride is just get in truck, drive by monkey, go home,
You know what would be
better way.
cool? And like I'm even talking same level of special effects. Imagine this ride, but it was like dinosaur, and there was just the occasional like animatronic dinosaur poking its head out. Yeah, it wouldn't be as impressive, but I think it would be more fun. And then you just
Yeah.
got to Kong. Um, I love the fact that the Kong breathes. It smells like bananas or fruit or something. I know they pump something in there. He feels very realistic, and you're kind of driving by him at face level. He doesn't really do anything, but he looks cool.
Yeah, he growls at you, and then according to the description of the ride on the Universal Parks and Resorts wiki, after you encounter the massive animatronic, you come face to face with the big ape himself. Unfortunately, he begins to show aggression shortly after observing the guests,
Oh
forcing the
no!
driver to leave.
Is that when he pulls out his meat weasel?
He pulls out his Meatweasel and his gun. Kong's got a
Yeah,
Glock.
Kong Skull Island. This time he's got a gun. Yeah. He pulls out. What is the line from the Donkey Kong rap? If he shoots ya, it's
It's
gonna
gonna
hurt.
hurt.
He's bigger, badder, meat weasel too. He ate Lumpy. Now he's
He's
gonna
gonna eat
you.
you.
Kong. I got the King Kong. That's great. Man, you know what I take back? This ride, but it's called Donkey Kong Rain on Kong Island. And it's just it's
Same
all
ride,
about
except you get a big Donkey Kong head at the end.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. We were playing a lot of Mario Party a few nights ago, and I like that whenever Donkey Kong wins, he goes, he's just a happy little guy.
It's a real desecration of ape culture, I think, to be, reducing them to simply being big clappy hands.
That's very interesting, Nick, because you know we're apes, right?
Well, We're a
Oh,
little
you're
smarter
better
than
than
them.
are you better than the rest?
A little bit.
I know we're great
I
apes.
know, I'm
Katie's
telling
Katie says you know we're great apes, Nick.
Well, I'm a great ape. You're an average ape.
I am like an orangutan that knows how to fuck. I don't know why that's what I thought. I don't know why that's what I came. I don't want to play anymore, Nick. Move on about the ride.
You're an orangutan who knows how to use his Meatweasel.
I know how to
So,
use my meat. Yes.
um, I have some info. This came from
Mhm.
an Orlando Informer article.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna read. It's a pretty big chunk of text, but I think there's a great payoff. The animatronic detailing was reportedly completed by Global Creatures, the same company that created the King Kong puppet for the multi-million-dollar musical production of King Kong.
Mhm.
However, this version of King Kong is even more lifelike, allowing guests to come even closer. Universal Orlando
Come
describes the
with
face-to-face
Kong.
he describes the face-to-face encounter as the most visceral encounter with King Kong ever. I love the
That's
word
fair.
visceral.
I do too, and that's also correct. You're not
Universal
gonna.
also gave guests a vague idea in regards to the direction of the blockbuster attraction's finale. As they near the finale of the heart-pounding expedition, the emotional power of Kong will overtake them.
No, it
Um,
won't. Hey, sorry guys.
is he there to save you? Well, you'll find out when you face this colossal beast in the flesh.
Yeah, and then he does save you, and you go home, and that woman shows up, like in every other ride where they're like, "Thanks for your help," even though all you really did was run away while they did everything. And then she's like, "Kong is on his island," which is interesting because in the movie they kidnap him. Have they returned him to his island? Is this after the movie?
Is this new Kong? I don't know.
I'll have to check. Actually, I'm kind of curious about that. Um, well, yeah, it's Kong, Reign of the Weasel, man. It's fun, I guess.
Yeah, so there is a timeline worth noting of
Hmm.
of King Kong involvement in Universal parks.
Hmm.
It started with the tram tour at Universal Studios Hollywood, where there was the Kong Encounter,
Yeah, I don't know
which
that as
was
well.
essentially just the old Universal Kong ride, but a smaller version of it. Because what Universal did when they opened the Florida park was they just kind of fleshed out the different stops on the tram tour into their own rides.
Okay.
Like King Kong and Jaws and things like that all became full-fledged attractions. And the
Okay.
Earthquake Encounter, I think, as opposed to just stops on the tram tour. So that became Kongfrontation at
God, that's a
Universal
good
Studios
name.
Florida when that opened in, I want to say, 1990.
Okay. Wow, that's why I
And
don't
then
remember it. I was -4.
that ride closed in 2002 to make room for Revenge of the Mummy.
Oh, well
And
worth it.
then the original attraction on the Universal Tram Tour, burned down in a fire
Okay, didn't know
that
that. Was it
so
Kong based?
no, it was not Kong based. It actually also burned up a good portion of their Universal Records archives.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
Yeah, there is some speculation that this was an insurance money arson case, but
It was
that's
it
just
was
conspiracy.
it was Derek Johnson. What the Jack Black's character? He was always scheming.
Carl Denham.
It was Carl Denham. Yeah. He wanted to get his money back and he had to get in the jeans industry before
Remember that
time ran
period of
out.
time where people were trying to make Jack Black like actual movie star Jack Black instead of just let Jack Black be Jack Black?
What do you mean?
Like when they were like, "Oh, we're gonna put Jack Black in normal movies and make him act in normal roles," like
He's not
Carl
even
Denham.
bad at it. It's just he's better at
No, it's just
doing
he's so good
him.
at being Jack Black. It's like, why did we ever try to make this guy do anything else?
I really want his cover of "Hit Me Baby One More Time" on Spotify. It's really good. Him and the oh god, Tenacious D.
Yeah. So that was after that fire, that was replaced by an experience similar to this based on the 2005 Kong, where it was just a fully immersive surrounding screen
I have no memory of that.
because it was in Hollywood. Did you ever go to
Oh,
Universal Hollywood?
sorry. No, I've never been
Yeah,
to
this is
Hollywood
on
at
the
all.
tram tour, is what I'm saying. So this is all on the
Yeah,
tram tour.
got it.
And then this ride was kind of based on that, but more fully fleshed out.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
yeah, so there were two incidents. My favorite Wikipedia chapter incidents.
Yeah, I read these. One of them is just plain sad, and the
Yeah,
other one
and the other
is
one's kind of, I don't want to
interesting.
say
Yeah,
funny,
no,
but
no,
it is
because somebody got
definitely
hurt.
worth pointing out for you to
Because there's.
decide.
Did you notice that there's no elaboration?
Yeah, zero
What if
zero detail
what,
whatsoever.
what if Kong did it? What if the meat
So
weasel
the
did
first
it?
one, sad one. This is kind of I don't really know. I don't have an opinion either way on who's at fault here. In
No.
2016,
But it's not funny.
Guatemalan gentleman began to feel ill after leaving the ride. They left him to rest on a bench and go experience other things. When the family returned, he was collapsed and later pronounced dead. They sued Universal for negligence for not providing warning signs in Spanish. And there was like debate about whether that's, a reasonable expectation or personal responsibility to understand what you're boarding. And then the family also claims that Universal should have been more attentive, providing medical attention sooner.
I that last part, I agree with empirically. I don't know. I do believe there should be, warnings in all the languages for the rides. I don't necessarily know what. It's not like I'm not making fun of. It's not like he caught like the Skull Island flu. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, and like this is not a particularly violent or thrilling attraction.
No,
Like
yeah.
what would the warning have been? Like it's not like it's not like he got on mission space and had a heart
It would be
problem.
about the Meatweasels. It would be about the Meatweasels.
Probably the Meatweasels. Maybe he's allergic to banana. I should not be joking about this. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's sad.
It's sad, but like it's also I do see both sides of
Yeah.
yes, maybe there could have been more warnings about what the ride entailed because it is very vague in all descriptions about what it actually is.
I'm typically pro whatever, make the company pay because frankly it won't hurt Universal and this family
Exactly.
lost somebody, so make them pay. I don't give a shit. And the other one is far more interesting.
Yeah, this one on May 16th, 2021, we have an exact date. A woman's index finger was severely cut off mid-ride, which had to be partially amputated as a result. Now, let me read this word for word. On May 16th, 2021, a woman's index finger was severely cut off during mid-ride, which had to be partially amputated as a result. Now,
I'm
not your typical
fascinated.
well-worded grammar sentence.
No.
Which leads me to believe that the person who made this edit to Wikipedia might have had their index finger severely cut off during a ride.
No. It is vague enough that it's like, because once we kind of talk about, there's not a lot of moving, like if you were like, oh no, and first of all, we know that this is more of a rumor than anything because these rides are tested so much, but if you told me you rode a wild mouse at like Keensburg or something, calling back to our Patreon episode, which you should subscribe and listen to, and you stuck your hand up and you got it caught like a beam or something. But this ride doesn't have anything like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it isn't
it's
like
not
Space
fast.
Mountain
Like,
where you're riding
where was
through,
the finger?
I don't know where
was it in the Meatweasel? Was this a Meatweasel related amputation? We'll leave it up to you, listeners. That's our mystery this week on the True Crime Skull Island edition. Can you figure out what happened to this woman's finger? So, that brings us to the end. James, what's happening? What's happening?
Give me a sign.
Are you just going to do this?
Kong, hit me with your weasel one more time.
Check us out on social media at cticketpod. Make sure you go. Check us out on social media at cticketpod. Make sure you subscribe to our Patreon. Patreon.com/cticketpod. We just did an episode on Primeval Whirl. And go ahead and hit that. James is calling me now. I don't know what's happening. Hold on, I'm going to answer this phone call.
Hey,
yeah, can I help you? I'm in the middle of.
It's actually
I'm in the middle of something.
What?
I'm in the middle of something, bud. I'm kind of recording an episode here.
Me too. I just did a whole song and everything.
Yeah, I know. I heard all of it.
Oh, you're still you've had your head on your hand and have not moved for the past minute for me.
I've done the whole outro over your underscoring, buddy.
Oh, cool. So it worked out.
Yeah, bud. So let me finish this up. You want me to keep you on the line?
Yeah, sure. Put me on speaker.
No, that's a terrible idea.
No, put me on speaker. Okay, fine.
So, again, I'm going to give that one more time just in case there was some confusion for the listener. Check us out on social media at cticketpod, Instagram, Twitter, and the TikTok. You can find our Patreon, patreon.com/cticketpod, where for just $5 a month, you can join C-Ticket Plus and get 2 bonus episodes every month, including our brand new RIP ticket on the now defunct Primeval Whirl roller coaster from Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Dinosaurs.
For just $2, you can become an average C-Ticket enjoyer and hop on our Discord to join in the discussion with some of our other listeners. We have a great time over there. Lots of fun emotes. But yeah, go ahead and check us out. James, anything you want to add?
Who up lumpin' they Meatweasel right now?
That's right. And everybody, whatever you do, don't forget to, I don't know, I was going to make a Seinfeld reference, but all I can think of
Jerry,
is...
there's a monkey outside my window.
No Meatweasel for you.
No, oh, that was, hey, Elaine, go Meatweasel.